A very good morning and welcome back to another daily market outlook. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. EURUSD is currently being suppressed by this area of supply, and I am therefore monitoring and identifying if we can see further downside movement. Obviously, the 4-hour swing is still bullish in towards the highs, with this being our protected swing low. However, what we can clearly see is that the liquidity got grabbed below it. We saw kind of like a reversal in towards the highs. However, nothing really convincing. And most of the times when you see a reversal from a key level, and you want that level to be, let's say, really strong, such as the liquidity low over here and this 4-hour protected low, because the overall swing structure in price, guys, is from this low all the way in towards this high. And obviously we do expect then this area of demand slash consolidation to be respected and the market to start reversing from there. What you then want to see is a very strong bullish reaction in the shape of a, let's say, V-shaped reaction, right? So what you want to preferably see is something like this, because when you see that V-shaped reaction, you can be, let's say, more confident that the market is just going to continue down lower from that specific area in price. What we've now seen for a very long time is simply the market being suppressed within kind of like this descending overall channel of price, just continuously moving in towards the downside. And as long as that channel holds and sustains, I do expect the market to continue down lower. Furthermore, what we can clearly see is kind of this ascending corrective price action in towards the highs. And more often than not, does that mean that the market would then just simply continue down in towards the lows? So what I'm now waiting for today, especially with this corrective ascending price action, is just to simply wait a little bit until lower time frame market structure is going to be broken, and we can look with more confidence to shorts in towards the downside. For now, there are two areas of supply, and that's obviously the one that I mentioned last week, this one over here, and this is going to be our second area of supply over here. If we do not break or if we do not, let's say, hold this area of supply, then what will happen is I expect a very rapid movement in towards this extreme over here, because we do not have any liquidation in this, let's say, move down over here. And more often than not, will that result in a mirroring of the overall market price. For now, this area of supply, we've got a lot of liquidity resting below it. We've now grabbed that liquidity which lay below that area of supply, so we could now see a potential reversal and continuation further in towards the downside. So that's what I'm waiting for today. Let's see on the lower time frame if this area of supply holds. If it does, look for further downside. If we break it, then obviously I'm going to be looking for a long rapidly in toward that area of supply over there. Going in towards the 15-minute real quick, last of all, what we can then see is that the overall market structure is just continuing in towards the highs, right? So we're seeing higher highs and higher lows continuously. So what I'm waiting for this morning is to see, okay, is this level over here going to hold? So this is pretty much the low which broke, let's say, this high. Then you kind of got this descending corrective, correction. A quick impulse up, but this isn't really a low that broke this high, because you can just see it's like boom boom, quick liquidity grab. So I'm really focusing more on the low over here. If this low over here holds, then I do expect higher prices. We've now pulled back down in towards this fresh area of demand. We liquidated the lows over here, so now let's see if the market wants to reverse in towards the highs. Quickly marking out the Asia session, you can now see, okay, first we grabbed the Asia session high, now we've grabbed the Asia session low, so we pretty much got liquidity on both sides now grabbed. So let's see the market now choose a direction. I wouldn't be surprised using the PO3 indicator if we pull down a little bit deeper in towards this overall demand zone. So just to make it a little bit more clear for you, this is the demand zone that I'm talking about, this entire sell before the buy that we've now entered with the PO3 indicator, and you can just use this as also an area of demand, especially this blue line over here. That is your strongest area of support. I'm going to be looking for longs from there. If that does not hold and we do break, then obviously I'll be looking for shorts for the rest of today and this week. So that's euro dollar for you. Now moving on in towards the dollar index. So the dollar index, guys, what have we been seeing over here? Well, we've now seen a clear liquidity grab below the lows once again. Yeah, I mean, the dollar index overall is extremely consolidative. As we can see, this area of supply held and pushed price down in towards the downside. But then again, what we can clearly see is just, let's say, this liquidity low over here. That is where the liquidity has now been grabbed from below. And it could just mean that we're just going to continue to consolidate for the rest of today now. What I'm actually kind of like, let's say, I don't want to say hope, but what I would like to see is a close below this low and some more downside momentum start to kick in for the rest of today. because that would just give us easier setups on these dollar pairs overall, as the dollar will have a more clear indication on where it wants to head next. For the rest, you can again just see it's very, very messy price action, not much going on here on the dollar index. Overall, what happened on Friday is that pretty much this area of supply just sustained and pushed price continuously further in towards the downside. So keep an eye out on the 4 hour, just wait and see if we do get a 4 hour close in the lower time frame, let's say prevail in towards the downside. Otherwise, what could just happen is that we just continue to consolidate back in towards the highs and stay within this overall range. So yeah, keep that in account when trading the dollar. It could mean that these pairs are just ready to consolidate further on this Monday. Now moving on in towards Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar here on the 4 hour time frame broke the fractal high actually on Friday morning. Now what happened is, okay, we broke the fractal high, meaning that the overall 4 hour might be ready to pull back further in towards the highs. This over here is your low in towards the downside over here. So if we quickly draw in a fib, that means that there is still potential for us to push slightly higher. Overall, however, we have probably already pulled back in towards that 50% mark. Yeah, so you can see exactly the 50% mark acting as your area of support and resistance. It's always pretty crazy to see. Overall, from Aussie dollar, still expecting further upside though. We could see a further dump in towards the downside for the rest of today in towards here, this area of demand, from where we could then potentially look for further upside. Otherwise, if you, let's say, see a clearer 50-minute trend form on the lower time frame, then already get into longs, because the 4 hour does look good to push potentially further in towards the highs with liquidity resting above this high over here. I mean, for the rest, there's no liquidation in this move down. So let's see if we can get a move higher here from Aussie dollar now. So going just quickly in towards the 15-minute time frame, what you'll then see is that the overall, let's say, momentum is in towards the upside at the moment, in the sense that, okay, we had that bearish trend, it then flipped in towards the upside, we pulled back in towards discount over here, and we made that pullback, and we're now looking to see if we can continue further in towards the highs and continuously just continue with the trend overall in towards the upside. We still have liquidity resting above these highs over here. So I'm looking to target this high very, very soon, potentially just pull back a little bit deeper, and then we'll target that high. So that's what I'm looking for on Aussie dollar. Moving in towards pound dollar. So pound dollar overall here on the 4 hour time frame, very, very messy pair as of now, with a lot of, let's say, resistance over here, which we're finding. That's really suppressing price from moving further in towards the upside. Obviously, we've kind of entered this area of supply over here, but I'm still looking for further upside. However, also keeping in mind that there's liquidity underneath this low. So I'm very curious to see what the market will do today. And I'm very curious to see what this 4 hour close will do. I'm definitely waiting for that 4 hour close. I'm pretty much, let's say, I would rather see a bullish 4 hour candle close and then this as your area of demand, and then just continue trading pound dollar overall in towards the upside, back up higher in towards that supply zone. That is what I would preferably do. But we are building a lot of liquidity underneath these lows. So just keep in mind that at a certain point in time, it is very likely that we will kind of like attack those lows. But what I find more interesting is the 1 hour time frame over here, because on the 1 hour we have a very clear POI over here, which I would also like to target very, very soon. So what I'm keeping my eyes out or my eyes open for is the fact that we have liquidity over here. So what I would like to see is kind of like a push in towards there, and then a continuation from that 1 hour area of demand. Keeping that in mind for now and for the rest of today. Not really looking at the 15-minute time frame too much. The 4 hour also very, very messy. So mainly just focusing on the 1 hour for now, and keeping in mind that we have a 1 hour area of demand over here. So that's that on pound dollar. Moving in towards NZDUSD. So NZDUSD over here respected our area of supply exactly as expected, pretty much. So what we saw was that the market pulled back in towards that area of supply. This is pretty much the high over here, which broke this low. So obviously after a BOS, what do you expect? We expect a pullback in towards the highs straight away when we broke the low, very choppy. So that's kind of like an indication the market might be ready to pull back in towards the highs. Pushed back up, came back down in towards this area of consolidation / demand, and then continued in towards the highs very beautifully. Now has reached this area of supply, the extreme overall within the market. This is the high, this is the low, and we've now pulled back all the way if we just look at the fib in towards that 0.88 fib. So what I'm now looking for on NZDUSD is pretty much continuation in towards the downside. Now the 4 hour doesn't really have any fractal structure which I can trade further in towards the downside. So what we can see now pretty much is that we're entering this area of demand over here. So the market might just rebound and continue higher from there, and let's say pop up higher in towards this area over here. But if we break this area of demand, then I wouldn't be surprised if we do then continue down lower in towards the downside. So that's what I'm kind of looking at over here on NZDUSD. Overall, kind of like a ascending channel over here. So just waiting for that to break and then continue in towards the downside for us. Overall, on the 1 hour, it is looking better though, and we can clearly see that you had this high get broken by this wick over here. Then this was the low, so now boom, boom, boom. So now we are expecting for the downside, so keep an eye open for the 1 hour to continue down lower, and then obviously you could focus on, for example, this POI over here being your next target. So that's NZDUSD for you. Now moving in towards gold last of all. So gold has been moving up higher this morning. So what I do expect is further upside for the rest of today. What I'm going to be looking at is this area of interest to be reached very, very soon. Over on the 15-minute time frame, we still have kind of like these equal lows over here, which are still open. So for this morning / Monday, what I do expect is just short-term further upside until potentially continuing down lower. Obviously, it needs some more supply. So let's wait for that supply zone to get hit and then maybe target these kind of like equal lows in this trendline liquidity, which we have resting over there. So thank you so much for tuning in today on Monday's episode. Wish you all a fantastic trading day and see you all tomorrow. Thanks, guys.